Rin, 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 how eternal you are. What's up, guys? I'm here to do a breakdown and discussion on why Rin Itoshi, the great destroyer of Blue Lock, the monster, the beast, the animal only interested in that sick, twisted pleasure of two beings smashing together in order to risk their very lives for the sake of that desire, the sake of that destruction, and the sake of that fever deep within the game of football, whether or not he shall continue, or ultimately why I just genuinely believe he's nowhere near done. We've just begun, very similar to a Mr. Yoichi Isagi, or Yoichi Isagi, which is still weird. And it's like apparently Yoichi Isagi, which is like, but let's not waste any more time and let's hop right into it. What's up, guys? That guy with a pencil here. Fun fact, I do mean to have it on me and keep it on me at all times. Here's another fun fact. Rin Itoshi is, what do I say? Like, in terms of what do I say about Rin, is what is there to not say about Rin, right? He is the main rival character, I would say. And I know there are going to be certain people who will fall from the heavens. The name of Borrow fans. And don't worry, I'm going to be talking about him too and his longevity. But Borrow fans will fall out the sky and say, actually, no, it's Borrow. Then Kaiser fans will fall out the sky and say, actually, no, it's Kaiser. And then Bajira fans, the poor Bajira fans, haven't been fed nothing but agony, despair, darkness, and sadness for the past, 3 years. Bajira fans will fall out the sky and say, no, it's meant to be him. Then the Nagi fans will crawl out from the depths that they're currently trapped in and be like, no, it's him. So many people will come together. But I think, in our heart of hearts, deep down, even as a Kaiser creamer, a Nagi, a Seshiro sucker, oh, that sounds so wrong, Chigiri creamer, a Bajira, I don't know, Bajira beast. I don't say a Bajira Peter. That's so wrong. But ultimately, a Kaiser, a Michael Muncher, no matter what you are, I think all of us in our heart of hearts kind of know that it's Rin, right? It is Rin. It has to be Rin. Notably, they are the two characters that have kind of always been there. And not necessarily always been there, as Rin is introduced actually kind of late into the series for what I would say is the main rival character. But from the dynamics of the light and darkness that Rin and Isagi seem to feed into, from the fact that they were called the core of Blue Lock in the Blue U20 game, considering the fact that Ego himself has identified that Rin ultimately feeds off Isagi in order to become better, and vice versa. Isagi, after his loss, after loss, after loss, after loss, after loss, after loss to Rin, ultimately became better and better. It's just innate. It's innate. Don't get me wrong, there are other characters who do have narratives that feed into them being also eternal rivals with Isagi. Like I said, Borrow fans, y'all got a fat, juicy, hefty, scrumdiddlyumptious lay and claim to that as well, but we'll talk about that in its own video. Rin, he's just him. He's him in that way, shape, and form. I cannot deny it as much as an Isagi investor as I am. But there has been some worry. There has been some debate. There has been some concern. And it's really, really, really amped up ever since, let me just make sure I have this chapter right in my noggin. I believe it would be chapter, because I said, I'm so embarrassed with the Isagi video. I was like, the latest chapter, and I was off by 10-ish chapters. Chapter 286 at the time of recording, with Rin kind of being shut down repeatedly. And, kind of doing the same thing over and over, and kind of sitting stagnant in his destroyer ego, right? He is failing, and in fact is running into a brick wall of wanting to do the same thing over and over again. And that's not good, because of course what this whole Eagles League has kind of been building to, and especially PXG versus BM has been about, is this whole kind of narrative and divide yet coexisting nature of geniuses and talented learners. Ultimately, it's a genius's job to create, to innovate, to, what's that word? Oh no, it's 7 letters and starts with a D and ends with destroy the current system. And then it's the talented learner's job to come in, smack that new genius away and be like, wait a minute, I got this in my bag. And Isagi Yoichi has got it in his bag. But there's been a lot of concern on whether or not Rin can even like have the longevity for that. Especially considering, for all intents and purposes, this, until a hypothetical club arc where the two go in different directions, is the last time we're going to see Isagi and Rin on opposing teams, literal opposing teams. Because remember, we're going straight into the U20. And guess what? In the U20, Isagi and Rin have to be on the same team with the same ball and the same jerseys and will not be fighting each other. So there's this teeny tiny bit of concern from some Rin fans, even people who are just inquisitively reading the manga, of whether or not Rin will be able to make it any further beyond this point, considering it seems like he's kind of cooking himself, but locking himself into a corner on two fronts. One front, that he's becoming predictable in his genius nature by wanting to experience that clash, that natural desire to consume and be consumed, to be the apex predator risking one's life in order to consume another apex predator, to feel that feeling of beautiful, amazing, scrumdiddlyumptious destruction. People are a little worried that he maybe get a little too into that. And if the whole world, not just Isagi and Kaiser, are able to see, hey, I see you, buddy, you're kind of doing the same thing over and over again, you're kind of trash and easy to read, and maybe Rin's kind of like perma-stuck. And this is also the other thing, it seems like only Isagi and Sei can kind of bring this out of Rin. Like, this peak Rin. I don't think there's any real debate or discussion that Flow Destroyer Rin is not the current number one, not the strongest variation of Rin. Like, sure, base Rin is fine and all. He's a real cool cat. He not solo stomped once again. Cheetah was there and Charles was there, but he nearly solo stomped the entire rest of the East League on his own from the first game he was in. So, like, clearly he's monstrous in his own right, but he ain't Metavision Isagi monstrous. He ain't locked in Nagi monstrous. He ain't Flow Boro monstrous. Like, he's just not built like that for real. So not only does he have the problem that he's predictable when he's in his apex state, but also he needs Isagi to get there. And Isagi and him are going to be on the same team. So how exactly is he going to get there? And the thing is, the other motivator he has will no longer just be a phantom in his head whispering, I think it's not sweet nothings, but mean nothings into his ear. No, he'll be on the pitch with him. Remember, Sei, no matter the fact that he does play for Real Madrid, and that leads into the hypothetical setup for the club arc, a hypothetical trio of Isagi, Kaiser, and Sei. Oh, don't get my toes curled. But, like, that aside, Sei's going to be on the U20 team. It's the law of nature. He has to be there. In the U20, the World Cup works by nationality, not necessarily by the team you currently play for, what club you currently play for. So, Sei's going to be back. And Isagi's going to be back on the same team with Rin, who needs the whole destroyer ego to be his best self. So is he cooked? Is he? I'd say not. I'd say not. As the title alluded to, and as I've mentioned already, I don't really think Rin's cooked. In fact, I think, kind of like Isagi, he's just started again. And even the narrative itself kind of supports this. As Isagi, when he was going into his, oh no, am I a side character in my own manga? What's happening? Am I just there, a stepping stone for geniuses to evolve? He noticed that, oh yeah, Rin had an ego death. But unlike Mr. Nagi Sashiro, that thing immediately got reborn. Like a phoenix, it burst into ashes and rose from those same ashes. Rin is a baby again, which sounds very strange, as he is a very tall 16-year-old boy who is intent on crashing headfirst into other men. But he's a baby. This is his new beginning. He's just now finally doing what a lot of Isagi fans have wanted Isagi to do for a while now. And while some fans do believe Isagi's starting to do, I personally don't have enough context in the light novels to know if this is true or not, but essentially, Rin's got back to zero. We always talk about turning 0 into 1 in the earlier parts of the manga, but Rin turned that 1 back into a 0. So now he needs to go and make a new 1. So right now, I will readily admit, Rin has seemed a little predictable. But not only has it just been like one play since Isagi and Kaiser have intentionally teamed up, not only is Rin's narrative fighting heavily against Isagi's narrative in this case, where ultimately like, hey, free goal game structure. We need to see the potency of talented learners. This may be the first, and depending on if you think the club arc is going to happen or not, final time, we're going to see Isagi and Kaiser team up, so we need to prove it's effective. Rin's the best way to prove it's effective. Rin's ultimately not the main character, and thusly he needs to be a narrative jobber. In spite of Rin's dominance, he does sort of have a narrative role to fulfill, and it's to be what Shido's been for a while. You notice how Shido hasn't touched the ball for what feels like nearly a year? ever since that first goal of his. Y'all remember that fact? Yeah, Rin can touch the ball, but he can't exactly succeed, because that ends the game. And if it ends the game, then ultimately Isagi and Kaiser's narratives shatter. And while don't get me wrong, maybe if it was just Kaiser's narrative, I would easily supersede Rin. Rin's been around longer, he has more narrative priority, we're going to see much more of Rin than we're going to see of Kaiser. But I can't exactly sit here and tell you that Rin's narrative supersedes Isagi's. That's why Rin didn't score the final goal in the U20. So he was only a stepping stone, a piece to Isagi's narrative, becoming the hero of Blue Lock. And right now, Rin's in that exact same role. And the best thing about Rin is that since he's baby again, since he's fresh, he can continue that role, even if Isagi wins. Right here, right now. Say next chapter drops, 287 drops, and Isagi Yoichi sees the ball in the air, he turns around, hits the craziest backwards inverse bicycle kick, somehow Aiku appears on the pitch, and he does a backflip over him so he can replicate Kaiser's goal, and boom! Double nutmeg through 15 defenders, and bam, it's in the goal. I know 15 people can't be on the pitch, I'm messing around. But even this game ends next chapter, and Rin takes his first ever L to Isagi, guess what? Rin's still there, and he's still a better player. Isagi himself has admitted this. The only way he's been able to even box Rin, defeat current Rin, the current stale, do the same thing, kind of booty cheeks Rin, is by teaming up with the new Gen 11 player, who has the exact same vision as he does, and is also one of the best players in the series so far, if not a master. Is it impressive for Isagi? Absolutely. Is it bad for Rin? Not at all. If Rin could overcome those two, then I never believe Isagi could catch up to him. But I think this is a reasonable pitch. This is a reasonable point. Rin, once again, he's baby. In all senses. Not in the fact that just his ego is new and thusly he needs to build that back up, but also in the sense that he's baby and thusly has no idea what he's really doing. He's wilding out for the sake of wilding out right now. And sure, that worked well the first time, but of course it's going to fail the second time and possibly the third time and the fourth time and the fifth time, because a lot of Blue Lock is about the failure of progression. Notably, the failure of regression that leads into progression, and thusly, Rin is going to have to actually lose. Because I'll be honest, if there's one thing that I think every Rin fan can directly acknowledge, is that ultimately, that man basically never loses. He be vibing. That man, like, genuinely, has he lost a game? A singular game. Up to this point. No. Because he won the U20 match. He won all his matches in second selection. He won all his matches in third selection. He's won everything. He's won literally everything. So one L is not destructive enough to Rin. And in fact, dare I say it's kind of needed. I'm not talking about those little miniature spiritual L's like the one he took at the end of the U20, which allowed him to finally declare Isagi Yoichi as a proper rival. No, I'm talking a big, meaty, hefty, slapping on the table, swinging around, and then helicopter that bad boy kind of L. And that's what this would be. This would be the trigger point, the awakening point. We've already kind of gotten that for Rin, I will admit. The birth of his new ego, his ego rebirth, as Isagi calls it, is there. But I think, just as he lost, say, in the past, and that led to an evolution, he needs to lose to Isagi now and experience a reason for evolution, a reason for change, a reason to better evolve what exists within him that he's finally recaptured, that need to destroy. And for the other thing I mentioned, the idea that ultimately Rin, he may kind of be soft locked to base Rin, considering he won't be fighting Isagi, and with Sei directly on the team, he won't be fighting Sei. Number one, unfortunately, being on the same team does not mean you work with your teammates. This is just a Blue Lock staple at this point. The craziest thing ever is happening right now because two teammates who've been teammates for the past 100, we're 286, so nearly 130 chapters, I'm pretty sure. When does the Neo Aegis League start? It's at least 100 chapters. The same two guys who have been on the same team for about 100 chapters have just now started working together. So you can definitely be on the same team and bring things out of each other. Things that are negative. You can have negative emotions, negative feelings, all that. Trust me, being on the same team does not change that fact. And thusly, not only could Rin get the answer from that, but with Sei directly being there, that may actually be worse. Because then Rin's going to actually be trying to perform for Sei in order to get Sei to work for them. To get Senpai to acknowledge him. To get Big Bro Sei, Onichan, to acknowledge him. So not only do I think there's that trigger for Rin's Destroyer mode, the one thing that could awaken Sei and have Sei realize, oh, wait a minute, we can cook with this, we can cook with this. But also, remember the original trigger for the Destroyer ego. It wasn't actually just Isagi. It was Blue Lock, the concept. The idea that all these different people, from all these different backgrounds, all these different locations and histories and ideas and stories, all fused together into this one beautiful, abstract concept that would support Rin, not leave him behind, ultimately pick him up when he fell down. It was that awoke the Destroyer. Only now has Rin understood the reason his Destroyer ego exists, that the side that desires to bring out the best of others and destroy it and feel that fever. Only now it has come to bear. But that doesn't mean that it didn't only exist. Well, now, let me phrase this correctly. It doesn't mean that Rin's ability to go into that state is locked behind Isagi specifically, or Sei specifically. Rin as the Destroyer, the number one in Blue Lock, the strongest threat, the genius of geniuses, will exist in his Destroyer state as long as Blue Lock exists. As long as there are people who will not leave him behind. As long as there are other people there to make Rin realize that he's not the strongest. And ultimately, that's the beauty of the Neo-Egotist League. Just as it's been building to Isagi's rebirth, his understanding, and his regression to a machine, a monster, a creature specifically built for nothing but winning and creating victory, Rin's entire journey in the Neo-Egotist League, but specifically now, PXG vs. BM, has been learning how to re-harness the creation that existed within him by embracing destruction. And Rin's embraced destruction. Now, all he needs to do is evolve it. And that is what I'm excited to see. But of course, first things first, that man needs to take a juicy, thick, scrumdiddlyumptious L. And that L will come from the hero king of Blue Lock. He who will not be the strongest, but the wisest. Isagi Yoichi. But, of course, that's what I think. Please let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. You guys think I'm crazy? I'm nuts? I'm stupid? I'm backwards? Ultimately, there's absolutely no way on this good green earth that Rin will be able to succeed in the future now that he's being clipped already by just two talented learners who knows what's going to happen in the future? Or do you guys agree with me and think ultimately this is Rin's new beginning? Or do you guys think I'm crazy on the idea that Rin can trigger the Destroyer state from almost any stimulus, whether it still be the same two stimuli in, say, in Isagi, or the very concept of Blue Lock itself? Or do you think the opposite, or something similar? Or do you agree with me but have an adjacent point you'd like to add? Anything. Please let me know all that and more in the comment section down below. I'd like to thank you so much for watching. Please remember to leave a like, share, comment, and subscribe. And make sure you hit that little notification bell so you not miss out on any videos that come to the channel. Also, I do have a Patreon below where you can support me for as low as count 'em $1 a month. They get things like exclusive videos, early content, and more. You can also now become a member to the channel for as low as $3 a month to get the same perks and more. Some of those perks include the live reactions to every series I happen to review, ad variations of all my videos, and if you become a $25 patron or a $25 member, you can order whatever video you want. Also, I do have a link to my Ko-Fi in the description down below where you can support me. We can drop 5 beans for a short video, 5 beans, or 25 beans for a long video. Any beans at all, any support is always greatly appreciated. Now, I'd like to thank you so much for watching. Once again, I would like to thank you guys so much for watching once again, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is that guy with a pencil, writing off.
I'd like to give a thank you to our $3 members, Zara, Greyhound, Eternal Flame, Redwolf 4765, Astro, Brandon Payne, Glacier XZ, and G Prosper. And I'd like to give a thank you to our $5 members, A+A, Ignil Lind, Kevin Encarnacion, Midnight Lord 21, and Sean. And I'd like to give a thank you to our $7 members, Fine, Austin Wimberly, Uchiha, and Yuki Ally. And I'd like to give a thank you to our $10 members, AZ Void, J Warrior, and Robbie Uchiha. And I'd like to give a big ol' thank you to our $10 patrons, Overlord Zero, Waki Munoz, and Idem Okami. And I'd like to give a final, gracious, gargantuan thank you to our $100 That Guy with a Pencil tier patron, Calvin Elder.